Yeah! Hi, my name is Julio Salgado. I'm an undocumented queer artivist, originally from North Long Beach, based in Berkeley, California. And I just really want to give a shout out to CultureStrike. And I'm just so excited to be part of that group. I feel lucky and I feel blessed. So thank you, CultureStrike. And I hope we keep making art together.
Well, thank you, Oprah, for having me here. Thank you for everybody for coming here, and I'm really excited. I'm really nervous. I mean, I've been drawing all of my life, and I think, I don't know, it was something that I did as a kid. And then, when I went, started college, I majored in art. The few semesters I was an art major, I felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't see myself in the art that I was studying. And so I happened to stumble across this ad that the school paper was asking for editorial cartoonists. And so I was like, I can do that. I figure I draw and I could be political. And once I started doing editorial cartoons, I discovered journalism, and telling a story was like really important. And so I started mixing art and trying to figure out how to tell a story. So that's kind of how I started. I began to do a lot of political art, like political-driven art. And definitely a turning point for me, and I think a turning point for a lot of undocumented students or dreamers was, in 2010 when, first you had the Trail of Dreams, students walking. But for me, May 2010, when you had four really, amazing individuals who sat down in the office of McCain and they actually got arrested. They put a face to what was going on. We were sort of like hidden, and what they did was they put a face to the other. They put a face to the issue that we just didn't want to confront. And so that, for me, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, I have to own my identity. And it was I just started getting, so inspired. And one of the first images that I made was of this other student, because more sit-ins happened. And this student from Missouri, who was one of the many students that got arrested in D.C., her name is Anna Martinez. And, it was this picture of her sort of getting arrested, but looking very dignified. And so I saw that photograph and I was like, I have to recreate it and make sure that we as undocumented students and undocumented immigrants, we tell our own stories and don't let other people sort of try to document what's happening. And I continue from there, and because a lot of the activism from students it was so incredible that I couldn't not document that through art.
And just so that everyone understands, what could happen when someone undocumented engages in civil disobedience, such as the McCain sit-ins, and how did you begin to work on some of the deportation campaigns?
They challenge what the laws. They challenge what it meant to be undocumented and what it happens when you come out. What happens when you come out in groups and you have a community behind you. And so they showed how the system is broken, and they don't really know what to do when you're being confronted with it in your face. What we did gain at the end of the day was this power, and this power that was built by community. It wasn't built by any politician. It wasn't built by any organization. It was built by people suffering the loss. And so a lot of students were stopping deportations with doing, they were sending petitions, online petitions. And when I was looking at a lot of those petitions, they were coming up on my Facebook news feeds, and I was like, what can I do? When I was looking at each one of those cases, and I was like, that could be my mom, my dad, that could be me, that could be my sister. And so we're all, all in this boat together. And when I would look at them, I was like, I need to do something. So I started making some of the images that people followed and they put forward to each other. It was the community sort of saying, hey, we're not, nobody's gonna come and rescue us. We gotta sort of do it on our own. What happened here was there was a collaboration of organizers, and I was just kind of this is what I can do. Let's work together. So I'm glad. I mean, a lot of the deportations were stopped because of the people insisting and calling, and I just felt that, I discovered that I was like, the importance of art. It's not just to create a pretty picture.
Well, also, Julio, this past weekend you were at SF Pride and you were leading one of the UndocuQueer contingents, and the banner said President Obama.
It was like, thank you, but hold up.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, but we actually want full legalization, not just right. Your word, not just like a peace speech. It was just like, yeah, and I mean. I mean, one of the reasons why I was like, when they asked me, they're like, Olga Talamante from the Latina Chicana Foundation, she was like, do you want to be part of this? And I was like, yes. The reason I said yes was because I went to the Long Beach Pride. I grew up in Long Beach. I'm from Long Beach. And one of the first floats that I saw at the Pride event, at the parade, was the Wells Fargo float. Yes, that was my first reaction. Me and my mom, because my mom was with me, and I was like, we were booing at the Wells Fargo float. And some of my fellow queers behind me, they were like, "Why are you booing? This is not the place to boo." I was like, "Do you know that they like Wells Fargo? I was like throwing them the story of Wells Fargo, how they they invest in corporations that gain from the separation of our families." And some people were like, "Well, at least they support one part of you." And I was like, no. I was really excited to actually be in the parade and be there. And instead of a Wells Fargo float, like they have my art. So it was really cool to it was kind of like, F you, Wells Fargo, now I'm here.
Can you talk about, you say sometimes that you came out of two closets. Why? What do you see as your role in really advancing both causes or intersecting them? And why do you think, why is this a subject that you approach in your art?
Well, I mean, I think that experience, I'm queer. When I was at the parade, when I was at Long Beach Pride, and I saw that Wells Fargo, and when I saw the reaction from some of the queer people there, and I was like, this is why we have to intersect, because people sometimes in both groups we're so invested in like you have to do gay marriage, we want to join the army, and it was just like. There's more than that to being queer. Some of us, are more worried about not seeing my mom tomorrow than, getting married. And so I thought it was really important to point out like some of the key individuals that were behind this movement. A lot of them were queer. A lot of them were saying not only are we undocumented, but we're also queer. And I think one of the reasons is because we know what it's like to come out of the closet, and we know what it's like to sort of like have a secret and sort of, find people who are going to support you. And then for me, it was really important to connect the two. And I was hearing this, people think that I came up with the UndocuQueer term. I did not come up with it. I heard it on Facebook someplace, and I was just like, yes, UndocuQueer. And so I think that a lot of us identify with that. A lot of the, the quotes that you see in the images, are quotes from people, because I was like, what do you want to say? I mean, what does it mean to be undocumented and queer? Different people send me their quotes, and and it was like really interesting how what it meant for them, and so I wanted to do that. I wanted to illustrate that.
And which closet did you come out of first?
I came out first as undocumented. Because I knew it was like when I was in high school, I knew a lot of people who were undocumented. And then, and then slowly I will come out. We know that friend, that female friend always, who's like, really close to you. It was like, through some female friends when I was in high school. And then, when I was like 18, my mom, I think it's a really funny story. My mom found out that I was queer through a journal. So when I was in the 8th grade, my best friend told me he was bisexual. And so, like, I wrote it in my little journal, and I thought I lost the journal, whatever. And like a few years later, when I was 18, my mom came up to me and she was like, "Can I ask you something?" I was like, "What?" I accidentally was going through some old stuff, and I found this, and it accidentally opened in this place. She's like, "Are you still having thoughts about who you are?" was like, okay, yeah, Mom, I'm queer and I'm gay, and so she was cool with it. I'm really lucky that she was. Yeah, very lucky.
You know, you share this with your parents, and tell us, like, what did they say?
Well, yeah, my mom called me and she was screaming. She was like, oh my God, you know, like, and I was like, Mom, hold on, you know, like I was being all like, I was like, let's be real, Mom, because like last year they said they were gonna stop with deportation. She was like, why do you have to be so negative all the time? Like, you know, this is a good thing. And so I was like, yeah, you know, it was a bittersweet celebration, I think, for a lot of us because. You know, this is what we've been working for a long time. You know, a lot of undocumented people have been working for the past 10 years, and a lot of people have aged out. You know, they will not benefit, you know, from this. One of them being the person who wrote that, you know, cover. It's not going to benefit. My parents are not going to benefit from it. And so I think a lot of us are very, you know, like when we actually get the paper, but we want more than just, you know, like, yeah, here, you know, be happy with this. It's like, it has to be more than that because as immigrants to this country, we contribute a lot. And for the president and for this administration to say, I'm only going to give you a piece of the pie that you help cook, it's BS. And so I think we should like really make sure that our families, you know, are protected as well. The issue of immigration is never going to stop. I think, you know, when as immigrants, we're always going to be seen as the other. And you know, the fact that, I mean, there was that recent poll that, you know, babies are now the majority of immigrant babies are, you know, the majority of being, you know, born in this country. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I just want to make sure that the community doesn't get, you know, taken advantage of. And I think right now I'm like living in the present. I'll think about the future when I actually get the thing, if it actually happened, and make sure that we know that, you know, this is not it, that we're going to continue to fight and make sure that our families are also included in everything.
And Julio, you know, one of your pieces that people love is the one that you have of your parents. Can you talk about, for you in particular, your family story?
A lot of us have been guilty of saying, you know, I'm in this country, it wasn't my fault, it was my parents' fault. You know, and when we're saying that, it's like we're helping this narrative of criminalizing parents for being responsible and courageous. And so I really wanted to, it was a friend of mine from LA, her name is Nancy Mesa, she's like an awesome organizer and activist from LA, and she was like, no, like, you know, our parents were here because our parents are responsible and courageous. And I just thought that was like really like an awesome, you know, thing to put on a piece of art. And that's why I really wanted to pay a homage to all of our parents. You know, a lot of people come from single parent homes, you know, from same-sex households. So that it's a really personal image because it's my family, it's my parents. And that actually was based on a photograph that we took when we came here to the US in 1995. And we lost that picture. I don't know what happened to it, but it always stayed in my mind. And so I wanted to recreate it. So I thought it was really interesting. I was like, okay, I'm going to recreate this images and call it undocumented apparel and have some of the quotes from different folks that, you know, some folks that I met. And I was like, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to be undocumented? And some of the quotes are really confrontational. Like the one from Yosimar, he's like, I'm just a little immigrant, you know, God bless America with 3 Ks. And they were really confrontational on purpose because I felt that you know, if our image is going to be used to sell shirts, we should be the ones saying how we want to be represented. So after I started posting some of them, you know, people were sharing them on Tumblr and on Facebook, and then I got an email from the creative director of American Apparel, and I was like, oh shit, I'm getting sued. And so I was kind of hesitant to call her, and she was really nice on the phone. And she started, she was like, you know, she started listing all the great things that American Apparel has done for the community. And it's like, I love it. No, that's great. That's awesome. And that's exactly why people are pissed off, because you as an ally should know better than that. And so the fact that she didn't understand, and the fact that American Apparel came out and said, we don't know what the big deal is. That's what pissed me off, because they were mad that we were analyzing this image. We're criticizing this image. And they're like, what? Immigrants thinking what? I think that's what kind of, you know, they were not expecting that. And so I had to explain to her, I had to break it down to her, and I was like, you know, have you ever heard of, you know, cultural appropriation, and have you heard of all these things? And she's like, I don't know. I was like, how was the person, because then she turned it into me. She was like, maybe you're killing Raul's 15 minutes of fame, you know, like, why are you, you know, maybe he's happy to be on a cover, I was like, have you asked Raul how he feels? You know, have you talked to him? And I was like, how was he involved in the whole process? And she was like, well, he shows the shirt. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I was like, so she was like, what do you want? Like, I mean, I wasn't asking for anything. Like, they were like, we'll print the shirts. I was like, no, you should apologize to people. You should say that, you messed up and, and sort of like recover your street cred. But they never did, so I'm going to keep making them.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Julio.
Thank you.